Hi, everyone. Since you have a few minutes, am I audible? Just want to check.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, everyone. So I'm Shruti. I'm an MSc student of HCID, and I'm just here to have a chat about about all the lessons I learned while doing my IA coursework, because I think I learned a lot about how people kind of create meaning, how people learn a new domain. So the task at hand was very simple. It is literally just create an informational site about any domain you like. So I kind of want everyone to just keep in mind something you have learned recently or maybe during COVID, like sourdough bread. It doesn't matter because I want you to pick something where you still remember what it's like to be a beginner at it. So I ended up picking up chess because the issue is I I wanted to pick up something I did not know anything about. Like I knew nothing about it. And I was genuinely really worried because I'm talking to my peers and I could see they all picked something which they kind of learned a bit more about. But I realized very quickly that when it comes to knowing absolutely nothing about a domain, that is honestly its own superpower. So basically I think Rick Williams from GDS actually had a really good way to phrase it. It's like there is this beautiful window of naivete through which like everyone is kind of looking at a domain, and then the thing is, as you learn more about the domain, that window breaks apart and you need to keep it, because the thing is, when you're trying to chart an information space, right? You're trying to map out an area, and the thing is, if you go on a journey, that is so much easier for you to take your users along on the journey with you. So you need to remember what it's like to know nothing and pretend to know nothing at all stages, especially when you're talking to domain experts. So I started talking to domain experts, and now the thing is, I I ran into a I ran into a problem. So basically, each expert it had their own idea of what chess is, and I got incredibly confused actually, because I could put together everything, and I just got very lost. So I'm trying to put together this is the domain model, and I presented this. This is 2 hours, 2 months of work. And Silver Oliver gave me feedback from data language, and he told me to take out the center. He's like, Shruti, just try deleting chess games. And that's my reaction basically. But I went through the 5 stages of grief, and I just when I said thank you, and I was really grateful though, because I did try taking out that center, and it helped me make so much more sense out of it. Because when you take out what's putting everything together, like what's connecting everything, you could see like invisible connections, like connections you no longer saw before. So I was looking at chess as a game. But the thing is, it's not just a game, right? One person saw it as more an academic puzzle. Some person saw it as a place to just have some community. Some person had it as a sport you kind of really train for. And yeah, that gave me a really like great tip, honestly. And I genuinely suggest like anyone to keep trying it. This is one interesting problem I came into. So I had this mental notion that okay, there'll be like beginner, intermediate, and advanced chess players, and you need to design the website for those. I was going to create tailored lesson plans for all of these categories. I had that in mind, but I'm just like talking to the experts, and then I quickly realized something. The key thing to note is that it's not different levels; it is different learning styles, and this is something I should have clocked earlier because I have ADHD, and I was kind of like a teacher's nightmare until people figure out how I need to be taught. So it's not that people like learn things differently. It's like beginners might be motivated by different things. So if you're a beginner, you want to stop making mistakes. So maybe common mistakes is a good thing. Some people just want puzzles, like they just learn to puzzle. Some people want to learn games by watching other people play. Beginners usually like very quick chunks of information because they're not that invested into the domain yet, and they might not have that context. So yeah, learning styles helps. On the other hand, like experts tend to need a more slow-paced kind of lesson, just to kind of take in the domain, because they already have the context, and now they just want to like sit with it, understand nuances, and just do a lot of internal processing. That's usually what I noticed. So yeah, it's not beginner, middle, expert, it's learning styles. This is something I realized also. I think as IA practitioners, honestly, we all just need to go out and touch grass sometimes, because the thing is, information only makes sense in the real world, right? Like it's not just theory. I was lost in chess theory for the longest time, but I looked at the board, and when you're moving the pieces together, because that's how people, users interact with the world, right? I'm realizing, oh, okay, maybe I can use this somewhere. And I found a really good place to use this. So I don't know if anyone here knows chess, but you have this concept called openings, okay? So that means that you are moving the first stage of a game is basically you're moving pieces. Yeah, and initially I just had a string. So basically, yeah, so you're just moving pieces and you have different names for different types of initial moves you can make. I wanted to do a search for that database, and I was searching by string. But you can actually just use a chessboard so that users can move the pieces and then search the database, right? So yeah, that was something interesting I came across. And finally, it's very cliche, but my final takeaways, and the most important one, is to be yourself. But it's not as simple as that. I think Duncan's speech was a really good way to phrase it. So as an IA practitioner, and this is why I love IA, you're trying to make an impact on the users. But the thing is you need to, it's also making an impact on you. So for example, I have a background where I love classical paintings, okay? And I think I did a research paper, co-authored one paper in my undergrad where you're kind of learning about historical movements like Renaissance, all those things about classical paintings, this whole thing. So I have that background. And the thing is, I could connect that background to the different movements in chess. There are different historical movements in like chess theory. When algorithms started coming in, that was its whole thing. And that helped me understand more about myself and about the domain I'm looking at, even though it's widely unrelated. So I think that is my most important takeaway, and something which I think captures the heart of IA itself, which is it is a domain about connections at the end of the day. Like, and I think with all the AI, I was feeling quite isolated, actually, honestly. And I think over the entire course, and Stefan was an amazing professor, I basically learned how IA just helps people just stay connected, and that's what creates the impact, and that's why I love it. So yeah, thanks so much everyone for listening and for me to take that extra few minutes. Yeah. Stop sharing.
Cool. Okay, so we've got a question. What's your favorite chess piece, Shruti?
Yeah, I actually went into it literally knowing only the movements of each piece. Chess piece would be the bishop, I think, actually. Bishop or the knight. I think the knight is underrated. The knight is actually pretty overrated. It's pretty good because that's the unexpected one.
Yeah, I've got some questions, but I need to open it to the floor first. Has anybody got any questions that you want to ask? Okay, we've got one here. Okay, good question. How do you stop the domain exponentially expanding to bring everything in when you're rightly considering more broadly than the strict domain? That is a good question.
Yeah, that is a question I really ran into a lot, because I'm like, where are the boundaries, right? Yeah. So I basically asked Stefan about this a lot, and I think something I heard was see where it starts connecting to the other domain. So for example, I was going down this one rabbit hole about chess algorithms, because that is just one of the domain experts is a software engineer, one of my colleagues, I have a software engineering background. He's just into that. So the thing is, that is a connection with another domain. And that kind of tends to make the boundary of your domain, that really helps set that in. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting what you say, and kind of your experience of learning to be an information architect was mine, but quite a few years ago. I would argue that one of the main skills of an information architect is to understand stuff. Yeah. So our job is to understand stuff and then to kind of systematize and codify that meaning in whatever. I'm really fascinated with your kind of the flow of your learning. So my way of thinking about understanding is, so you go in cold as an information architect often, you've no idea what the domain is. Yeah. Your understanding increases quite rapidly, and you get to the point where you think, yeah, I understand all this. But that's when you've got to be careful, because once what you think you reach that peak, there's often a little dip where you kind of, your understanding decreases just a tiny amount. So you've basically got to come out the other end of that tiny dip in your understanding and arrive at the point where you understand enough. And I think that's the key word. You don't have to understand the universe, you just have to understand enough for your particular domain.
Yeah, I just to add on to that point, I would say just talking to people who who doesn't know about the domain, like constantly throughout your entire process, that really does help set that in. Like it's kind of like you're keeping that window, I think.
Yeah, the subject matter experts are crucial. I have a colleague who did a taxonomy piece for a vacuum pump manufacturer, and she had no idea what vacuum. Apparently, there are many kinds of industrial vacuum pump. Who knew? So you do get thrown into these random things. And one final question, because we're kind of getting close to time, is: so has your experience to date, Shruti, made you less or more inclined to become an information architect?
I will be very honest and kind of shameless. I really do want to be an information architect. I really do like it. And I love accessibility, and it just feels like it really plays well into both those things. I'm literally like, it just feels like right now it's not like a new entry career thing, but it's a lovely skill to have, and it's underrated. I wish I had that in my previous role.
Oh, you're wrong, Shruti. It's definitely the career to have, definitely.